The Trump administration keeps saying, no enrichment, no deal with Iran. But when you listen closely, that tough talk starts to crumble. What happens when political posturing replaces real strategy? That's what Moskowitz just uncovered.
Now recognizes Representative Moskowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me extend my condolences to the Connolly family. Jerry's wit will be missed in this Congress. And so in the spirit of Jerry, let me say, Mr. Secretary, that I am deeply disappointed and find your performance as the National Archivist extremely underwhelming. And just for the record, we don't get to confirm here in Congress, but if we did, I would have voted against your confirmation as the National Archivist.
That vote never happened, so.
I know. I want to talk about Iran for a second, okay? I'm deeply concerned about the language that I'm seeing from the isolationist wing of the party. And I've been kind of shocked that the administration seems to be tougher on Canada, Greenland, than they are on Iran. The Ayatollah insults our president. If the language coming from the Ayatollah was coming from Canada or Greenland or the EU, the president wouldn't stand for it. Yet he allows it from the Ayatollah. Is it your recommendation? I understand that you can't guarantee what Trump would or would not do, but it is your recommendation to the president that he sign no deal that allows Iran to keep enrichment?
Well, here's the answer to that question is the president has made clear that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. He's also been clear, and I think you've seen this in statements over the weekend, for example, that Ambassador Witkoff did on television and the like, that if you have an enrichment capability at any level, you are but steps away from nuclear weapons. So I think that's why the no enrichment piece is so important.
Right, of course, and that was the issues that many people had with the JCPOA, is they felt that it kept the enrichment capability along with ballistic missile capability, which Iran now has, okay, a delivery system. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, there are many players in this, and I'm going to ask about those, but is it your recommendation, should the president ask of it, I assume he would, is it your recommendation to the president that he sign no deal that keeps their ability to enrich?
Yeah, and he doesn't need that recommendation because he's already said that.
Okay. Is it the vice president's position in your conversations with VP Vance that he also does not believe Iran should have any enrichment?
Well,
capability?
I'm not going to describe our conversations, but I can tell you the vice president is completely aligned with the president in his foreign policy.
So that is his position then?
The position that they shouldn't have enrichment.
Yeah, is that the vice president?
If they have enrichment, then they will have a weapon, or at least there'll be a near, and everybody in the administration has been consistent on that.
Okay, what about Mr. Witkoff? Is it his position that Iran should not be able to have any enrichment capabilities?
He has said so in public interviews as recently as this weekend, that this is not an enrichment deal, what level Iran gets to keep enrichment. What they have said is if Iran wants a civil nuclear program, like they want to have nuclear energy, there's ways to do that. Other countries have done it without enrichment. That opportunity is available to Iran if they seek it. They haven't been interested in it because they want to keep enrichment. That's the crux of what we're facing here.
So any deal the Trump administration is not going to look anything like JCPOA. Is that your position?
The Trump administration has been very clear that Iran will not get to enrich because if they enrich, they're a threshold nuclear power.
Okay. I want to shift for a second. There was just a leak that is now national news that Israel is poised to strike Iran. Where did that leak come from in the administration? Do we know what department leaked that? Is that being looked into?
Well, I'm not aware of the leak that you're discussing. I'm obviously, I wouldn't discuss intelligence matters and even verify whether it's even true. I also don't think it's a mystery, though. Irrespective, I'm not talking about the leak, I'm not talking about the news story, that Israel has made clear that they retain the option of action to limit Iran from ever gaining a nuclear capability. I don't think that's a mystery, but I wouldn't comment, if I had read the article, I wouldn't comment on intelligence matters, confirm or deny them. As far as leaks are concerned, I don't know. I read stuff in the news every single day that I look at and say, I don't know where these people are coming up with this.
I mean, they're given polygraph tests in FEMA to determine where leaks are coming from. That's been well reported and not disputed by anyone in the administration, that they're literally going employees, sitting them down, putting them up to a polygraph, putting them up to, an oxygen monitor, trying to test their heart rate to figure out if they're leaking to the media. Is that sort of same application that is happening in FEMA going to be applied to the National Security Team and to the State Department to figure out who is leaking?
As far as I'm aware, we've not conducted any polygraph tests at the Department of State. Maybe we should, but we haven't.
Okay, all right. So I just want to be clear, because there is a lot of confusion, depending on the day, the week, and a lot of the reporting that's coming out, is that any Iran deal, is it your recommendation that that should go to Congress to
I actually think the law requires it. If you recall, we passed legislation here a few years ago, and it requires that Congress has a right to weigh in on any deal and could actually reverse any deal. I forgot the acronym for the bill, but it was one that was passed a few years ago, and I was in the Senate when it passed. It was after JCPOA.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
This exchange between Representative Jared Moskowitz and Secretary Rubio gives us a revealing glimpse into how the Trump administration's foreign policy is being shaped, and more importantly, how disorganized and contradictory it still seems to be. Moskowitz doesn't just ask rhetorical questions here, he's probing for clarity, for consistency, for accountability. And what he exposes is a pattern we've seen time and again: strong words on paper, but shaky logic in practice. When Rubio says Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, that's an easy promise to make politically. But when pressed on the details, on how that's going to be achieved, suddenly the picture gets murkier. We hear phrases like no enrichment and threshold nuclear power, but there's no plan, no roadmap to prevent escalation or to ensure that diplomacy isn't replaced by reckless confrontation. Moskowitz pushes further, asking whether the same no enrichment stance applies across the entire administration, the vice president, the ambassadors, the State Department. And the response? Evasive, carefully worded, more political than strategic. What makes this even more alarming is that in the same hearing, Moskowitz raises reports that Israel may be preparing to strike Iran, a potential flashpoint for war, and Rubio's response is, essentially, I don't know. No acknowledgement, no confirmation, not even a denial. That lack of transparency on issues this serious tells you everything about how foreign policy is being managed, or mismanaged, behind closed doors. And then, almost absurdly, Moskowitz brings up reports that FEMA employees are being polygraphed to catch leakers. And he asks whether that same level of internal scrutiny applies to the State Department, where leaks about national security could have catastrophic consequences. Rubio admits, flatly, maybe we should. Think about that. The administration can micromanage FEMA employees for leaks, but shrugs off potential breaches in national security? That's not leadership. That's chaos masquerading as control. This moment wasn't just about Iran. It was about truth, accountability, and the illusion of power. Moskowitz, for all his frustration, is trying to cut through the fog of partisanship and get answers. And what he finds is a foreign policy running more on politics than principle. If anything, this hearing is a reminder that global security isn't about who talks toughest, it's about who actually has a strategy. And right now, based on what we're seeing here, that strategy is missing in action. Subscribe to Left Lens for more breakdowns that cut through the noise, where we don't just replay the politics, we reveal the power dynamics behind them.